I don't know. What's something you want to talk about? Or a question that you have for me?
Well, like we spoke off camera, I'm really impressed with you and what you're doing right now. I just want to get your thoughts on where do you see yourself a year from now, 5 years from now?
The other three episodes, I've said that same thing to the other people. Where do you see yourself in 10 years from now? And what kind of person is that?
Right.
Yeah, so I don't see it 1 or 5 years because I know it's going to be different. Like 2 years ago, I wouldn't have imagined that I would be doing any of this, or I would even be able to have a decent looking video. And I know 5 years from now where I'm going to be. I could be on Mount Everest for all I know.
Hey,
I'll probably be dead, but
nice views.
how long?
Right.
Oh, it's a nice view. Wow,
Right,
it's
right,
getting
right,
really cold.
right.
I don't really know where I want to be in 10 years from now, but I do know the kind of person I want to be. And it kind of goes back to a friend of mine who's into commercial real estate. He told me that investors didn't invest in the company, they invested in the individual. So I kind of think of that the same way with me, that it's not about where I want to be with like location. If I'm still in Northern Virginia, or if I decide to go to like Texas or something, it's not about matter of the place around me, but investing in myself so that it doesn't matter where I am. I'll have that inner peace in myself.
Mm-hmm. It's awesome, man. That's awesome. I see you passed the course on learning who you are and loving yourself, man.
Yeah, but I'm still learning every day.
Well, that's good. That's good. So am I. So am I. Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of Mount Everest, I think I told you before. I worked in Alaska. I tell you that before.
No, I didn't tell me that.
Yeah. Um, we had a contract up there, and I worked in Alaska about 3 years up in by Mount McKinley, Denali. All right, and we was up there on a trip one time, and Thrues was there, and like probably towards the end of the second week, I said, man, I wish I could see the mountain, right? Because it's been being that high, we had the own different type of atmosphere, right? It's cloudy all the time, fog or whatever, right. And the guy I was working with, it says, do you really want to see the mountain? I said, yeah, man, I really want to see it, right? He says, um, turn around. And that day I turned around, man, it was right there, biggest daylight, man. And I just dropped my knees, I cried, man, because it was so beautiful. It was about 7,000 feet in the air, right, on side of the mountain, but I never saw the whole mountain, right, It was the most beautiful thing I've seen in my life, man. It's crazy, man. So, yeah. So, I've never been to Mount Everest, but been to Mount McKinley, yeah.
Look, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what mountain it is.
No, right.
The largest mountain in the world is underwater.
Exactly.
It's not about where it is or how famous it is. It's just a matter of how you feel about it. Like every day, you have like the sunrise comes up, and like if I'm up at 5 or something, it'll be dark out, and I'm doing jujitsu at 6 or between 6 and 7:30, and the way the room is positioned, the windows lead directly to the sunrise. They face east. So every morning, like we'll be doing something, maybe do some rolling around and doing some drills or something, and then out of nowhere I look outside and that's nice. Every morning, it
It's
doesn't.
funny, man. It's funny because when I lived in California, well, people in California on the West Coast in general, right? They still pause for the sunset, right? And you know that when the sun touches the horizon, it takes 3 minutes for it to disappear, right? And people pull inside the freeway, man, just watch the sunset, man. It's crazy. See it every day, but it's like those 3 minutes I need. You know what I'm saying? So yeah,
It doesn't get old.
no,
It
does
doesn't
not.
matter.
Yeah,
100 days could go by, it still looks beautiful.
right. Exactly. And I love it, man. I love it.
It's always funny how it's easy to distinguish the difference between a sunrise and a sunset. Sunrise, it looks youthful. Sunset, it feels like the calmness of night. It's, I don't know.
I worked all day. Say I'm going to bed.
Yeah. There was that other thing, just kind of somewhat off topic, when I told you about how the perspective of people when it comes, or the perspective of a pool, when you have the sun and you have the coldness of the water. When it's like a blazing hot day in the summer, the sun could be burning and burning your skin off and like all the UV radiation. And then, so you really want to get into that pool. So you go into the pool, it's freezing cold, but it feels good because, all the endorphins are going and everything. But the second you get out of the pool, you really wish that sun was a little brighter. So it's when you're in the pool, the sun was bad. When you're out of the pool, that sun looks pretty good. And now the pool is like, I don't want to get back into there. People dry themselves off with the water and everything. It's not a matter of the sun is bad or the pool is bad. It's just the perspective
Yeah.
of the how you treat the world. Like, or just yeah.
So have you defined your purpose yet
What purpose?
in
I'm
life?
supposed to have a purpose.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Just keep doing what I do and don't let someone else control who I am. But also don't be stupid about it. I have to control myself, which I fail to do a good part of the time.
Well, you getting there.
So except for these are like the only times when I'm like, yeah, this is great. I'm not lying or anything. It's just it's thoughts are so much clearer when you're talking to someone. But when you're talking to myself, I'm like,
That's why we need people, man.
yeah. Well, humans are social animals, but it's great because some people, well, you have like really stupid people who just can't. I could barely talk to some people for like 2 minutes. I'll be like, yeah, that's about how I judge people, not judge people, but I kind of sort people into how much time I'm willing to give them. So like my parents would get like 10 hours of my time, like per day. So my parents would get like 10 hours of my time. My sister would get like 8 hours of my time. Some of the closest people I know would get like maybe 4 or 5 hours of my time. And then there's people that would get maybe, and the vast majority of people would get like between 15 and 30 minutes of my time. And there's those few people that I would barely give 5 seconds if I was generous. 3 seconds is enough. Hi, great, end of story. So it's just like, it's great to have, it was kind of like what you said earlier, that you have, that your clients, you choose the clients that you enjoy talking to, that don't give you a hard time, but you also have to be selective about them. You don't want just to get anyone. You want to get people that don't cause you problems later on.
Don't get me wrong now. I'm not afraid of a hard time because I like a challenge, right? And a lot of times I learn from things like that, right? But if I know that we've been around this merry-go-round a couple of times already and you still don't get it, right? It's time for the ride to stop. All right, so yeah. But who makes you accountable? Who holds you accountable in your life?
Who holds me accountable?
Yeah, yeah.
That person in 10 years from now.
Okay.
It's weird. Like, obviously I have, like, it's not so much that there's any single person, but everyone that I truly love will reinvigorate something about me that I forgot about or something that I lost. So it's like, there's all the lessons that my dad taught me there's that one quote from Mark Twain. When I was 14, I thought my father a fool. When I turned 22, I was surprised how much that old man had learned in 8 years.
Yeah.
So there's all the lessons I learned from my dad and a lot of lessons I learned from my mom. My sister had a saying that I shouldn't take risks, but I should take calculated risks. So just weigh the options and see whether or not it's actually worth taking the risk. So there's close friends of mine that I'll remember them saying something a year ago, or I might not remember what they said, or remember when it was, but I remember that they said something that at the time I thought they were wrong, but now that I see that it applies to a situation, I'm like, they were right at the same time. Like there's some people that even when they're wrong, they're still right. So even when I'm too ignorant to understand that they're right, and I think they're wrong, they're actually right because they have the experience and they have the knowledge to back it up. So there's a lot of, the accountability isn't necessarily that I have someone externally, but I just have that internal monologue that isn't trying to push me down, but just to continuously remember all the different things that I have to remember. And if I forget things, I'll forget things, but I'll remember things. I'll remember the good stuff when I get back to good people.
Right. Actually, a question, because I read an article once that it said that most people don't want to be held accountable. Most people work a job, right? And who holds them accountable is their boss. Most people hate their boss, right? So imagine going through life without any mile markers in the checks and in checks and balances, right? And so I think it's very important to have someone you like to hold you accountable. You know, don't tell me your dreams now, because if you do, I'm hold you accountable. All right.
So I just remember something that a good friend of mine told me, is that you don't do good stuff. You don't do the good work for other people. You do it for yourself.
Right.
You don't put in the effort because someone else told you to. You do it because it makes you a better person.
You going back to humility? You remember we talking
Oh
about?
yeah, humility,
Yeah.
humility, extreme ownership. Um, you don't you don't expose yourself to bad people. You don't go for the easy things in life. If there is efficiency, it's good to be efficient, but it's also, is it efficient or is it something that's just easy to get? Like some people have like the analogy of the low hanging fruit. Well, if it's a low hanging fruit, I'm going to take it. But if that thing's crusty and molded and rotten, I'm not taking it. I don't care how enticing that might look. It's not.
Not that low now. Just put forth some effort to reach for it at least, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's just a matter, is what I'm doing efficient, or do I have to rewater the tree? Do I have to add more fertilizer so that next time the tree has fruits, it's not rotten. It's tasty. It's surprising how all it does, if you feed the right things and you water it and you have the consistency and you just continually have the discipline, the consistency, and the optimism to continually feed something, it's going to be, you'll look at it like 5 years before and be like, that was really small and now it's much bigger. So that's kind of like how I see myself in 10 years, that when that 10 years comes by, I'm going to look back and be like, that was not bad. I didn't slow down. I forgave myself whenever I did something stupid, but overall it was massively more, my life is so much better because of that. But at the same time, I don't look at myself 10 years from now and like, it's 2024, so 2034. I don't see it as 2034. I see it as 10 years from now. Tomorrow is 10 years plus one. Day after that is 10 years plus two. So it's always 10 years. Yeah. And then I'll look back, oh, 10 years ago, that was good. Now, where am I going 10 years from now?
I see life as a
A box of chocolate?
as a journey. I like to use a road trip for example, right? You know, if I drive from here to California, it's about 2,000 miles, right? Use an example, right? And I know that I need a map or some type of a navigation device to get me from point A to point B, right? Right. And only way I can know exactly where I am now is based on that mile marker on the side of the road, right? Now, on this journey, see things that entice me, excite me, whatever. Like I might see a McDonald's sign next exit, or Starbucks, whatever, right? So I might pull off if I get back on the road, right? Problem with most people that they'll pull off and never get back on the journey. You know what I'm saying, right? So now they stuck there and they said, how in the world I get here? Right? You know, be it a relationship, be it a job, be it whatever, right? You know what I'm saying, right? So the goal is you get back on, get back on the road, get back on your journey.
That also applies to casinos. So the one thing that one of the things that casinos do to keep people in the casino and keep gambling their life savings away instead of investing in it with a Roth IRA. This video is sponsored. No. The one thing that they do to keep the people inside is that they don't have windows and they don't have a clock. So people don't look at the clock and be like, oh, it's been 4 hours, or they don't see the window and see, oh, it's the sunset. They just do the same thing because it is addictive to gamble. You start gambling and it's like, oh, I was so close. You weren't close. Odds were always against you. But there's also something you could learn from that, which is if you always tell yourself you're closer to where you want to be, then it becomes not so much the reward, but rather the journey itself. Because you can be very, very close to it and you can keep gambling and everything. But if you do it in a smart way, not just gamble mindlessly, like, oh, hey, I'm going to put money into this educational course because it's supposed to make me a lot of money. But rather, I'm going to put my money towards skills so that I can hire people who know that. And then I can do more things and hire more people and then keep going back and forth. But it's not just doing it because it feels good, but because it's the best thing to do.